So, welcome, guys. I will leave the stage now for you guys to take over. I believe your moderator is right here. See you guys are live, by the way.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey.
Take it over. So I leave. You guys are live.
Sweet. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm very excited about this panel on building global products. I'm here with Nubi, Rafael, and Babatunde, all Nigerians working at Twitter, DocuSign, and Stripe. And I'll let you guys briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. My name is Babatunde. I work as a senior software engineer at Twitter. I've worked on several products at Twitter, including building APIs for different platforms. And then apart from that, right now I work as a machine learning infrastructure engineer, maintaining some of the infrastructure on which the ads prediction of Twitter actually runs. So that's exactly what I do right now.
Yeah, hi guys, my name is Nubi. I'm a program manager on the operations team at Stripe. And so I think the easiest way to explain what I do is like engineers and product folks like Babatunde and Rafael build the product, and then my team, we actually like support the product globally, from launching things like 24/7 request a call and live chat support, to just again supporting the whole suite of products that we have, including my favorite, which is Atlas, that enables founders everywhere in the world to like incorporate and start their businesses online. So yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Rafael. I work at DocuSign, and I'm a senior machine learning engineer, and I build narrow AI-driven products at DocuSign. So that involves products or involves computer vision, natural language processing, recommender systems, etc. And I'm glad to be here. Back to you, Kyane.
Oh, no idea.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Can't hear you still.
Yeah, I can't hear you either.
So I think we can hear you loud and clear. So where are we now? I think we are having Kyane is having issue with his network.
Yeah.
Okay,
So Kyane, we are having issues with the network.
Yeah, I guess.
But we can hear you now. We can hear you now. Please go ahead.
So that was me.
that was maybe.
Hello.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
we can hear you now.
Is it better?
Yeah, this is better.
Thank you. Sorry, guys. So, in the pre-show, when we started to prepare for the panel, I think we all agreed that definitions were important. And for a panel called Building Global Products, the main thing to define is global product. So, for you, what does a global product mean, and what does make a product global?
Yeah, I put to go first on that. So I think for me, I kind of like see that from two lenses. The first is reach. So how accessible is this product? But then also with the caveat that like not everybody will use the product the same way. And so again, like some would use some features or just again use it for one thing or the other. But again, is it actually accessible to as many people as possible? Yeah, that's my kid just running in there. And then the other lens in which I look at global products is also like the standard, like is this like a world-class product? Is it something that can actually like stay on shoulder to shoulder to any global product or any product out there that's actually world-class? So that's how I see global products.
Okay. So I know each one of you, has different paths and has different journeys, but I'm pretty sure and it's an assumption that you've worked on other products before that were not so global. So you are working on, smaller scale local products. And then at some point you moved to working on those big products. So I want to learn from your personal experiences and how did you make that jump, and basically what did you notice? What was the difference, and how was that learning curve? What was different? What are the main mistakes that you made?
I'll go with that. So some of the things that, so I totally agree with you, maybe with your definition of what a global product is. A global product, as I said, has a lot of reach. But then with reach comes a lot of many other problems. When you start having like a global product, you begin to have lots of different customers, and those customers will begin to like bombard your systems. At some point in time when you were building something really small, it was a monolithic, and then it was built on a monolithic architecture. But then as time goes on, you definitely need to you need to begin to like have something, maybe a service-oriented architecture, where like you begin to like separate your services into different, clusters, just to be able to like undo all of the different, number of requests that you have. So there were a couple of mistakes that I made at some point in time. When you begin to build for, a global product, you are not just building something that everybody is using. So your mistake is actually well known. Everybody gets to see, the very big, the very small, minute mistake you make. I remember having to build a product that, was going to be worth like several millions. And I made a mistake at some point in time, but I was very quick to correct it. So when you have that, you have so many things to worry about, and one of the things that you need to do is to begin to have a mindset shift of like how you want to even build a product that you have to build. Like a lot of testing has to go into it, and lots of other things like that.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And so that was from your personal learning curve perspective.
Sorry for coming back again. Quick one, Nubi, your mic is on mute. Maybe we've not been hearing what you're saying. Your mic is on mute.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry, I was trying to just like talk to my kid.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So avoid some background noise and everything.
We know how it is to be a parent. So my next question, I'm really curious, is about the learning curve from the company itself. I mean, I guess at Twitter, at DocuSign, at Stripe, even when you're global, you're still learning how to become even more global, right? So there's still like internal processes that are getting smoothed out. There's more and more learning from past products. So can any of you tell us about how their own company is learning and getting better at pushing out global products?
Yeah, I mean, I can take that. I mean, I would probably want to use my Intel experience. So I used to work for Intel, and I worked for Intel for 5 years before I joined DocuSign. So I'm pretty sure everybody on this forum is familiar with Moore's Law, that states that every 2 years, the number of transistors in a space is supposed to double in its size or in capacity or its volume. So at Intel, actually, what that translates into is that every 2 years there's always a mind shift. So even though Intel is over 50 years old, but guess what? Intel, even every 2 years, she still needs to actually change their mindset, because once you double the number of transistors, there's a lot of problems that come into play at that stage. So it's almost like you're trying to rebirth yourself, even though you are the global leader. So I think that's probably something that every company should try to emulate, and that's why Intel is what it is today, because every 2 years she rebirths herself. It's almost like you're going back into the startup mode, and then you're trying to bring up this product that eventually is something that becomes a global product. So you take it all the way from research all the way through to development.
Yeah, I will just quickly add to that. One of the things that I learned from the Intel culture, and I think it's been something that everybody in Silicon Valley has learned, is the use of OKRs, objective key results. And I think that started from the Intel days, where like Noise and all of those very interesting people who actually started this. And it's a way to like set very aggressive goals that, they call them aggressive goals. You could also call them stretch goals. And I think that's one of the things that helps you to have like a very a mindset shift. Like setting goals that you may not be able to meet, but you know that these are the things that you have to get to. Ideally, those goals you should be able to like get to like 2/3 of them if you have to, get to them. And I think that's one of the things that also has, helped me shape the way I think about the product I'm trying to shape. We always have like OKRs, what we want to get to, when we want to get to them, and how we want to get things better. Even Google has like such, a culture where like they want to make sure that like everything that they do is 10x better than what it was. If this was doing well at like a speed of like 0.5 milliseconds or so, let's get it to be something way better than it was before. And I think that's a very good culture to have in whatever you do actually.
Yeah, so just to add to that quickly as well, and looking at Stripe in particular, like we're software, and so software in its very nature is like, okay, this should be like available and accessible to everyone, but we're also payments like financial services as well, and so I mean it's you have to like, again, I mean you're going into like different regions and locations and the different regulations and laws you have to adapt to, their payment methods that are driven by cultural, like just how people actually behave and how they consume and transact. And so building, you have to like, again, it's like a marrying okay, this should be actually like available to everyone, but the nuances are actually like, again, are available in those different pocket of spaces. And so building a global product is not really like a brush stroke, copy paste, like one size fits all. It also means really adapting as well to those different spaces you find yourself. And if you look at even this of a country, like even a country like a consumer in Lagos, now we're going to be like the exact consumer in like Abuja or Port Harcourt, or a consumer in Ghana and a consumer in Nigeria is also going to be different as well. So really like staying close to the user, which is where my team or my role comes like, okay, like what's the user saying? How are they pushing and influencing how we actually like develop and adapt our product? So I think that's something to also have at the back of my when you're thinking about like building for a global product.
Okay, excellent. And then something I'm hearing from you guys, and I'm surprised because when I think, and I'm not an expert in this field of global products, I would think of like the size of the engineering team, the different departments, the servers, and you guys are talking about mindset, about culture. So how important is this? Like if I have a large team, a lot of needs, but not a culture of a mindset of global product, or versus having the other one, so a very small team, very limited resources, but then the right mindset. How is this different into this equation?
I think the first like drives the other. So the narrative definitely should drive how you have those, like how you distribute your, or like again have your resources exactly like you. So I'll give an example of that. So like I said, like Stripe, we going into different markets and all, and so engineering and all of that was based out of San Francisco. But we said, okay, that's not going to really make sense if you're building, like say bank contacts for like or carbon care in France or GiroPay or like other kind of like European payment methods. And so we need to actually again like have a distributed team, and so we have like an EMEA, a global team in Ireland here that actually are actually working to actually build products for the local market. And I think, yes, the narrative is very important, and that's actually to drive again how you actually distribute the resources and all. I mean, from the get-go, you might not have the luxury of that, but I think the investment comes along with that mindset as well. And so those are my thoughts on that.
I think one of the reasons why I culture and mindset shift is very important is because you could possibly have a 15-man engineering team, for example, that has shipped a very interesting product that is being used all over the world. And so, I mean, there are teams whereby you have close to like 3,000 engineering team or 2,500 engineering team. And, that's another, big problem that you have to solve. But then I think that like, it's not the size of the engineering team that you have that makes you a global product. If it's engineering, we can talk about that. But then the product in itself, the engineering team is, of course, you could have a 15-man engineering team that's actually powering a global product. And, of course, as you move forward, the number of instances that you need to have, in AWS or GCP or whichever data center that you have needs to increase. You need to be in a place where all of the things that you have are like well distributed all across the continent that you're serving. So the major thing that I feel that you need to have is not just, you need to know how to manage all of the resources that you have, but it's not about the resources alone. It's about the mindset shift. When that happens, a lot of things begin to like take shape. There are books that actually talk about this, like Lean Startup and all of that by, can't remember his name right now. But then, it's all about making sure that every single person that is on your team actually has this very entrepreneurial mindset of building something as fast as possible, reiterating as fast as possible, and making sure that they can do it so well with some level of standard, which is very important.
Amazing. Thanks for this, guys.
Let's start off by Eric Rees.
Yeah, Eric Rees. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm having super interesting questions in the chat, so happy to share with you. So a question from Fatma, and it says, what do you think is one of the one characteristic of a leader that's needed to thrive in an engineering team of a global product? So what's the main characteristic of a leader for building the product?
Let me take that, actually. So I think the main characteristics of a leader, I think, is empathy. I think empathy is the number one characteristic of a leader that is going to drive, because a person who is who has empathy actually generates trust, generates the best, or engenders the best from their employees. And that's what you need, especially when you're trying to build a global product, because eventually everybody's going to work hard. If it's a startup type environment, everybody's going to be working. Everybody's going to be stressed. So, but if you're a leader who is not very empathetic and is not able to actually carry people along with, or be able to actually just place yourself in the position of your own employees, then it becomes very hard for you for them to place a trust or place some sort of trust in you, and that would eventually lead to the collapse of the entire team. That's it.
I will add a couple of things to that. So, which I totally agree with you. Like, I really, really agree with all of what you said. So I've been tech leads at some point in time, like where we were trying to build the product and all. And I think one of the things that, I learned while being a tech lead is that you should be very empathetic, like you said. I could, my early days, I used to be very like narrow-minded, doing exactly what I wanted. I would go read books, try to understand exactly what, I need to build this very lovely architecture, and then say, this is exactly what we're going to build. When you do that, you are in a place where you're forcing people into building what they have to do. And someone told me while I was learning, said that one of the things that you need to understand is the fact that every single person that is here is smart. And so if you come out and then you're telling people that this is exactly what they have to do, you're making them look as though they're stupid. But then the thing there is that, like, think of every single person as a computer and then distribute them in such a way that, like, they are so smart that everybody can think on their own to generate something really meaningful. And that's the work of a leader, don't come and then tell them that this is exactly what you have to build and this is the language you must build. And, Rust is the new language you must use, and then Go is the language that we must use. Let them pick exactly what they want to pick. And that's a place of empathy. Like, even when you don't know, you are ready to, like, listen to what they have to do. And that's exactly, it generates trust. It builds a lot of, like, inspire through purpose. Don't inspire through, like, you having to enforce that this is exactly what people have to do. It's just not the best way to actually do.
Unfortunately, I'm not an engineering leader, but I think what I would just say there is, I think focus, which kind of like speaks to the like one of the question I see here from Pape Oko as well as like because you could build. I mean, there are so many like asks, there are so many feature requests, there are so many bugs you have to fix. There's so many like you're thinking of expanding, you're thinking of going wide or deep. Like you just have so much on your plate. That's focused. Again, I mean, have to actually prioritize as well. I think is a really key trait for a good leader. Since you always have limited resources for unlimited number of things to do, and so you're just knowing when to say no and knowing when to actually like rally your resources around those high impact or really important things. I think in my little experience of interfacing with engineering teams, I think that really helps. Yeah.
One more thing, build for the customer. Yeah, your customer is the person you want to build for.
Yeah. Another question in the audience touches on the topic of failure, and that happens a lot in large companies because there's so many experiments going on, and there's teams who are working on products that will never be public. So you find yourself working for a year on a product, and then the management decides to kill it. And you feel that, you just lost a year of working on a functionality or something. How do you manage the mood of your team when such failure happens?
Okay, go ahead, Jacob.
I was going to say, failure, if there's something that everybody should, especially if you're like a startup or if you're trying to become a global product or if you're just trying to become a leader, is that failure is inevitable. I don't think there's any leader who has never failed. Many leaders have failed many times, and actually the only time we think about them is that time when they win. But actually they failed many times in order for them to achieve enough expertise or experience for them to actually have a win. So I think we should have that. That should be something that you build in or you inculcate into the members of your team. They're like, we're building this product, but guess what? If in 6 months we don't get this to the position where it has to be, we will have to divert. But we're diverting doesn't mean that we didn't gain a lot of knowledge, some experience that we can eventually transition or translate to other products. So failure, it's okay. It's part of life. Even in life we fail. So that should be something that we have, or that should be something that a leader actually passes along to the team as this is something that will eventually happen. And if it happens, guess what? We've learned, we're going to move on. That's 2 cents in there.
Yeah.
I think sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, to be honest, so go ahead. Oh yeah, sorry. I'll go. To be honest, it's really, really hard to be in a place where you demoted, all of the things that you've done. I have a boss at some point in time that told me and said that programming is an emotional, it's an emotional venture. Like you pour all of your art and and it's not just programming; it's also developing a product. You pour all of your art and all of your emotions into building the things you want to build, and then eventually someone tells you and says, sorry, this is not going to be used. I think as you become more entrepreneurial in your mindset, and this is the way to deal with it. Like Raphael said, it's good to be in a place where you can, say that you're learning some skills as you're doing all of this. But then apart from that also, so in addition to that, one of the things that you should also know is that like a business, like fundamentally it's a business, right? And one of the things that you must understand is the fact that like, when you go into a business, you are trying to look for a product market fit of sorts. And if the product that you're trying to launch is not fit for the market, one of the things you should know is that, people have to pivot and go into a place so that your salary is still coming into your pocket, and that's one of the reasons why you possibly have to do that. Just to like ensure that like the business is still moving forward. And so people pivot all the time, and having that mindset that like, we might pivot from this particular stuff is just a very good mindset to have at the very beginning. Such that when such things come, you don't see them as like, oh, it's a loss. It's actually a gain. You just learn something new. which is very important.
Yeah. I'll say 2 things quickly on that. I think number one is creating the frameworks or culture where failure is okay. And one thing we have at Stripe is while we have shipped, we're shipping this, we've shipped this, we also have unshipped, like we actually like taking this off because it did not work as we expected. And so people actually like send emails that we're unshipping this, and for me it's normalizing that it's okay for you to ship something, and then 6 months later say I'm unshipping it or sunsetting it. I think there are an element of the communication piece. I think it's okay to actually tell your customers, tell your people why you're actually like discontinuing things. And Stripe, we used to like support Bitcoin as a payment method. And after a while, we said we were going to discontinue this, and we actually wrote a blog post as like why we were doing this, why we were discontinuing it. It was expensive, it was slow, it's used more as a store of value than a payment method, and so it doesn't really fit into again what as a payment method. It doesn't work as such at this time, and we didn't close the door. We said if it picks up again as a payment method and our users are asking for it, we would reconsider it again, reopening it again. And so communication, again, just making it very clear to customers, to stakeholders, that's like why this happened. So more like if you will, like a RCA or like a retrospective, like okay, this is what happened, this is why it happened, and so it's everybody on the same page, and nobody's actually making up assumptions as to like what happened. And I think that those 2 things will really help with at least manage the failure culture, if you will.
Thank you for sharing this, guys. I'm literally taking notes. So I want to be conscious of time. We have less than 4 minutes left. I want to take a step back and put myself in the shoes of our audience, mainly Nigerians, techies. So the first thing is, you guys have the privilege now in your companies to work with, a lot of resources, a lot of budget, so you can afford to, put money into every single thing that is important into working on a global product. But if we're in a scenario where there is limited budget, limited resources, and we're trying to work on a global product, then we need to prioritize stuff others. So in your case, what do you think should be prioritized?
I'll take a stab at that, or maybe a stab. I think this is exactly what you should do. When you are starved for resources, I think what you need to do is to be in a place where you pick the most important thing that is important for your customers, for your business. I think, once you have that mindset of like, this is a business and you need to satisfy, like the reason why you exist is for your customers. Whatever is their pain point or what their pain points are is what you want to possibly prioritize. And also prioritize the things that are very important for your business. For example, if you're a social media company, for example, or any kind of, company, and the things that, for example, I think I'll use Amazon as a very good example. Like Amazon, for example, had to like prioritize latencies over the colorful things and all of that. Why? Because every single thing about latency matters to them. Because if they drop anything about latency of any sort, they will begin to lose customers. And so they had to prioritize that. And so you need to figure out exactly what you need to prioritize and go after it. Trust me, like the back end of their services may not be as great, and which I don't believe it's not. But then their back end may not be as great. But one thing about it is that like they know exactly what to prioritize and do well. Airbnb, for example, their tech stack, according to one of my friends who works at at Airbnb, is not so great. And I'm not making them look bad. But what I'm saying is that like what they prioritize at Airbnb is possibly, the front end. It has to look nice and great because it is hospitality. And so understanding exactly what to prioritize is just very, very important. And you go after those things just to ensure that like, your business is doing well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also quickly add something there. I think, and this is again where I think product support or supporting global products really comes into play. You can use your support to the way you interact with your users, whether it's email, chat, social, to get signals. Also, like again, what are the new asks and what are the what's coming up. So data analyzing the data that comes through those channels. Okay, what is actually like new, what's future, and what are the broken windows? Like what's actually like broken in our existing product stack? Because I mean, I think builders are always like we love to build and not fix so much. And really, I think it's important to okay, let's fix what's broken in what we have offered to people already, and then on the back of that, add new things that they're asking over and over again for.
Super. So we're at the end of our session. So I have a closing question for you guys. You have this opportunity to talk to hundreds of Nigerians who are watching you live. What would be your main message? If someone similar to you would be in Nigeria, is working on a global product, is watching this panel, and he wants to hear something, what do you want him to hear?
I would say learn and never stop learning. Learning is from cradle to grave, and continue to learn. Learn with passion, learn with love, and you will definitely succeed.
Yeah, mine is stay hungry, stay foolish. Always stay hungry, stay foolish. Like, be hungry for the knowledge, be hungry for the new things that you want to learn, and stay foolish. Like, don't think that you've done all the things you want to do. I think when you have such a mindset, it's very important that you do that.
Yeah, mine will be like, as you build, don't forget to support. That's also very important, and it does help inform like what to build and actually how to build as well.
Amazing. My last one, I know Adwale is here. My last one is people are nicer than you think, especially strangers, and they would be more generous with time what you expect. So don't hesitate to cold reach out people on Twitter, email, LinkedIn with a very short message. Make them a very clear ask. Tell them, hey, I need 15 minutes to talk about this. Would you be available by end of this week or something? And you will be surprised of how many people, strangers, would be generous with their time and help you with what you're trying to do. So don't hesitate to reach out to people. Adewale, back to you.
Okay, guys. Before you go, thank you so much. Thank you. And I would now invite one person from the audience to join us live to ask a question for the speakers. We still have like 3 minutes left. So raise your hand. I can see hands going up already. So Paul, I just picked you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
How's it going, Paul?
How's everyone doing? It's really been
Is my guest joined?
Yeah, he's on.
Okay, I think I have to pick someone else.
Oh, he's on already.
He's on.
I'm on.
Don't worry, you're good.
So my question is this. One of the problems that I think product developers do struggle with is in Nigeria and a number of African countries that I've been with is being able to achieve the same level of quality, the same level of standards in product development that obtains globally. We still see some developers that are developing products around WordPress, while outside the country we are seeing real coding and nothing. So what do you think is responsible for this difference in quality, and how do you think we can raise our level of product development to global standards? Thank you.
Well, I have to say 2 things to say to that. Number one, nothing wrong with what.
No, maybe we lost you. So I'll take a stab at that really quickly. I don't think there's anything wrong with what people use, the tools that they use. As long as there is, you knowing exactly how to maintain what you need to maintain. At some point in time, as you build, you will get to realize that there will be need for other people to, there will be new features that you need to accommodate onto your platform. When you're choosing what you need to choose, even at bigger companies, one of the things that we try to do is to analyze the specific technology that we're going to use. Are we going to use Kafka over, I don't know, RabbitMQ? Are we going to use this over that? Like, people choose it, the technology that needs to be used, and it is for the purpose of what you want to build. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, the tech you use, as long as there is one thing that is at the back of your mind. When you're building the product that you're building, ensure that, like, you can accommodate new changes as fast as possible. That is actually very important. People don't care about whether it is WordPress that you're using. Your customers don't. Like, people don't care about whether it is, I don't know, some very fancy React, or Angular that you use. Nobody cares. Like, what they really care about is the fact that you can use it and it is responsive. And that's exactly what they care about. You then may want to learn, that this is exactly what you want to do and all of that. And that's fine, But I also think that, like, as we collaborate, like, I think I've also talked about, some things before where, like, as we collaborate between, maybe there is this, very strong, connection between maybe Silicon Valley, Nigerian tech in Silicon Valley and also in Nigeria. That might inspire people to begin to, like, use other technologies as to, like, the other old ones that they are used to. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as there is, it's fulfilling the purpose that it was built for.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I will pick someone else to join, so I have to disconnect you now, Paul. Thanks for the question. Yeah, thank you. So the next person I'll be picking Bukola. Yes.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Bukola.
Oh, right, okay. First off, a quick shout out to my secondary school senior, Nubi. So I'll just go straight to my question. We are thinking of, building a global product. When exactly in the process should you begin to think globally, right? So you decide to, like, focus on localization, right? For example, if you're building something in Germany, the language is different. So do you build something that you focus first on, where you are, and then at some point later you begin to, like, expand what you're building, or from the onset you have to think, global, and this affects, and like, what are the differences, right, in these two approaches, or like, what are the things you need to keep in mind if you're thinking, like, global from the start, or, local from the start and then expanding, and what is better between these two?
That's a good question, actually. To me, I feel like, I think you should probably think from the onset, or then work at the beginning according to the resources you have. So your resources in day one, it has to your basically okay.
I think there's this feedback. Maybe it's coming from your end, Bukola.
Okay, I'm just going to mute. I would do that.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, just to reiterate, so I think you should always think globally. I mean, if your goal is to make a global product, then from day one, your thought process should be, yeah, I'm going to make a global product. But then, of course, your resources may not actually be in line with your mindset at that point in time. So you build according to what your resource. If your resource can only cater to a 5-kilometer radius of where you are, then that's what you can build at that point in time. But that mindset should not change, and it should not be different from the day one. So the day one step should always be the same. I want to make it a global product, and then you work based on the resources you have. As your resources expand, then you begin to expand your radius, and then you just build out like that. That's my thought process.
A real life example of that, we wanted to, like, launch global reports. So we said, okay, we're going to launch available only in English. Tends to get supported in chat. And so it was global, but again, not actually localized at that point in time. And then over time, the languages on those channels. Like, how do you cover with a version of then again optimize so you have the resource to do that?
Yeah. Another thing I would like to say is that there is a guy. His name is Mark Zuckerberg, who actually said you should, move fast and break things at some point in time, and then eventually changed it and said move fast with, stable infra. And so you need to move fast and break things at the very beginning, which is fine. So whatever you're doing at that point in time is very important, but at the same time, you may not think global then. Well, it's fine if you want to build something. So there are some things that you need to build, like if you're building a health, application, you possibly want to put a lot of thought into that, because whatever you do there, there's some level of standard that is expected of you. Why? Because if you put someone in cardiology, if your app has a bug and it's putting someone in cardiology, instead of putting them in neurosurgery, that there's going to be a very big problem. Like that patient will die for one reason or another. So there is some level of standard that you need to have at that point in time.
Okay,
but when you're building something like a social media, you possibly have a product. I mean, you need to ensure that,
So guys, thank you so much.
Matter.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the session. Thank you so much. You can go to the backstage now. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And please, thank you.
The people can network with you at the VIP session as well. So thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. So the next session now, we'll be going to the next session. So just stay here. I think the stage will move to the next session. We'll be having Titi Lola Oludimu, Director of SME by Techpoint. She will be moderating a panel with Joe Benson, founder of VR360 Stories. So they are going to be discussing using technology to tell story, from animation to everything, and we'll be having them on stage soon. And please, guys, whenever a session is going, just be clicking likes to encourage the speakers and the moderator, and for them to know you are in the audience as well. Yes, so the session will start in 1 minute. So just stay here, then the session will move you to